ICRT, FM 100, Taipei, Taichung, and Kaohsiung. Your news, Taiwan and the world.
Good afternoon, it's 4 o'clock. I'm Nancy Sun with the top of the hour news. In Taiwan news, the DPP's U.S. mission chief says Washington is unlikely to grant Taiwan an exemption from tariffs on steel and aluminum imports in the near term due to China's involvement in the lead-up to possible talks with North Korea. ICRT's Washington correspondent Matt Kay has that story.
Michael Fonte says with Presidents Trump and Xi working together on North Korea, trade, and other fronts, Washington doesn't want to be seen bowing to Taiwan right now.
There's too much of an eye on his buddy-buddy relationship with China, which impacts Korea and stuff, as well as other issues, that anything that looks like a bow in a way in the direction of support for Taiwan is probably not going to go through, including things like cabinet-level visits to Taiwan for the AIT opening.
Fonte says the trade picture for Taiwan is further complicated by the flood of issues before the U.S. Trade Representative's office and its small staff. President Tsai Ing-wen this week urged the U.S. to exempt Taiwan from steel and aluminum tariffs imposed on China, Japan, and others. Matt Kay, ICRT News, Washington.
Meanwhile, Taiwan's summer months are known for sunshine, intermittent thunder showers, and an uptick in dengue fever. The Centers for Disease Control say to mitigate the risk of dengue fever in the upcoming summer months, they will partner with local organizations to conduct inspections of known dengue fever hot zones, areas of still water where diseased mosquitoes are allowed to breed and fester, especially in the Zuoying and Nantou areas. They urge the public to be vigilant and keep open water containers clean. The inspections will look to enforce waste disposal laws and the infection disease control law. And if a diseased mosquito source is found on your property, you will be reported in accordance with the law. In international news, German Chancellor Angela Merkel is stressing the importance of dialogue with China during a visit to Beijing. Merkel held morning discussions with Chinese Premier Li Keqiang, who said China-Germany relations were developing steadily at a high level, but that the current economic and political situations in the world are complex. Merkel affirmed their past success in finding answers to issues between them and emphasized the need for more discussions on issues from regular human rights to science and technology. Merkel was to meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping this afternoon. Tomorrow, she travels to Shenzhen in southern China. Meanwhile, the Indian town of Tuticorin remains tense after 2 more civilians were killed in police firing, taking the death toll from 2 to 12. The police claim they were forced to open fire after protesters started throwing stones. Our India correspondent Neha Punya reports.
After 2 days of violent clashes in the Indian city of Tuticorin in Tamil Nadu, 2 senior state officials have been transferred out. The government has also suspended internet services in the area and surrounding districts, fearing more violence. The State Pollution Control Board has asked the Tuticorin officials to disconnect power to the Sterlite plant in question. Civilians have been protesting against this Sterlite plant for over a month now. They claim the plant is polluting the area's underground water and causing irreparable damage to the environment. Neha Punya, New Delhi.
And finally, researchers are heading to Scotland's Loch Ness next month on the hunt for a legendary monster. The team, led by New Zealand scientists, will take 300 samples from the water from the lake and conduct DNA tests to determine what species live there. Neil Gemmell says that the DNA results will then be compared against a database of known species. He says they should have an answer by the end of the year. Gemmell says he's no believer in Nessie, but he wants to take people on an adventure and communicate some science along the way. And now, taking a quick look at this afternoon's weather back here in Taiwan, we have partly or mostly clear skies in the north, center, and south, and partly cloudy skies with occasional showers or thunder showers in the east. Current temperatures now: Taipei 29, Taichung 31, Kaohsiung 30, and Hualien 26. That was the ICRT News at 4 with me, Nancy Sun.
Thank you for tuning.
Oopsie!
What happened?
I stole half a minute of the regular show.
It's fine.
Okay, it's fine. It's fine.
Let's
Hi.
see. We have a bunch of people here with us.
I can't. How come I? What? Hi, everybody, and welcome to the ICRT Web News Hour.
Yeah, and this is the
to?
Nancy show.
This is the Nancy show.
And we call Hi Julian, May, hello Dylan, hello Hong Dong, hello Clark, hello Henry, hello Dylan, hello Sam, hello Dong Li-Qi. Anyway, I love how calm Nancy is even when she said the wrong word. The tempo is well controlled as well.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I do the news sometimes, and if you've heard me do the news, I do not keep graceful.
No, like when I first started,
Hello, Eddie.
Hi, Eddie. It really throws you when you make a mistake, and I make a lot of them. I made a lot of them, still do. And then I got into the habit of saying sorry after I made each single mistake. So it'd be like, blah, 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 oh, sorry, excuse me, and it was so awful. And then one of the listeners, I don't know who it was, but somebody wrote in and they were like, can you please tell Nancy to stop apologizing after every single mistake? And I'm like, oh my God, it's so Canadian.
It's so Canadian.
It's so Canadian and it's so annoying. So usually I just try to pretend it never happened.
Okay. And for our newcomers here, 如果你是新的听众的话, what up, Dylan?
Hey, Dylan says hello, Leslie.
This is the last piece of international news about science. I'm not sure about if it's call it science.
Should we start there?
Yeah.
Okay, let's start there.
Okay, let's start with the anyway. If you guys have any questions, 如果你针对今天的新闻有问题的话，可以在这边尽量提，然后我跟 Nancy 就会回答。
And then Clark Hung says, who is the anchor of the guy? I'm assuming they're asking about you.
Me?
Leslie?
Yes.
Leslie Liao is one of our newscasters sometimes, and he's also our social media coordinator.
Yes.
So if you message us on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and somebody replies, usually it's Leslie.
95% of the time.
Especially if the tone is annoying and loud, that's also Leslie too. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks,
okay.
Nancy.
Right. So the story about the Loch Ness monster, the scientist, a university professor, he plans to head there with his research team in a couple weeks' time, and they want to take samples. So they're going to take samples of the water from 300 different spots in the lake at different depths. So they're trying to cover all areas, and they want to find if they come up with some DNA that doesn't belong to an animal that's known to people, the scientific world.
Mm-hmm.
And they say that it's a good plan because when animals move through the water, they leave little pieces of like skin flecks or feathers or scales or whatever they're made of. They leave little pieces behind. And so if there is a Nessie, then pieces of Nessie should get left behind.
The Loch Ness monster. I don't think they really know. Do they talk about the Loch Ness monster in Taiwan all that much? I haven't heard about it much here.
泥湖水怪. I think people know of the Loch Ness monster. There's different. It's a legend. Some people say they've seen it or taken photographs. There's one pretty famous photograph that kind of looks like a dinosaur. Some people say it's a dinosaur, a long-necked dinosaur that survived from a long time ago, and it's hiding in the lake. And then some people say it's a giant fish. A lot of people think it's just, debris logs. There's also other, even more out there theories that, like, Nessie is an alien, and Nessie has underwater tunnels going from the Loch Ness into the sea, and she is generally assumed to be female, swims, back and forth, and so nobody can ever find her. So there's a lot of different theories. Julian Clark Hung says 尼斯湖 monster.
尼斯湖怪.
Wait, what is Nancy monster, Sam?
Nessie monster?
What is that? No, two completely different words.
You got her mad. Can I ask who's the other 5% of the time that replies? Well, sometimes it's Eric.
Yeah,
Eric Gao, who's from our newscaster.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's actually Joey. If you have anything to say about Joey's show, usually Joey handles the responses for that. He'll do it for himself before I can go, yo, Joey, what's the deal with this?
Right.
Yeah.
Said in that tone. And then sometimes if it's like a question about an event or like a prize or whatever, sometimes
marketing. Yes, sometimes it's our marketing.
Yeah.
Okay. Loch Ness Monster. Nancy, quickly, do you believe in the Loch Ness Monster?
No.
Aliens.
Okay. Yeah.
Bigfoot.
No.
I'm quite worried about the coming summer mosquito fever. Okay, let's move to that one. Dylan Su asks us.
Way to direct the conversation.
Yes.
Okay, so we're hopping back over to Taiwan.
Let's go Taiwan news.
Dengue fever is an issue in Taiwan. As you know, every summer it makes the rounds. It used to be that there's two different forms of dengue. There's the kind of dengue that gives you like high fever, headaches, muscle pains, bone aches. It's called a back break fever or something. Or break bone fever. There's another name for it. And it refers to the way it makes you hurt all over.
Okay.
Anyway, so there's that version. And then that runs its course in 2 to 7 days, and you're okay afterwards. But then in some cases, it can develop into the severe form, which is dengue hemorrhagic fever. And then that involves bleeding and losing platelets and all other kinds of scary stuff. And that can be life-threatening.
In Chinese, it's 登革热, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Get the vaccine shot, Clark. Do they have a vaccine for dengue?
There is a vaccine for dengue, but generally the World Health Organization recommends that people who have never had dengue before do not get the vaccine because...
the vaccine might overpower you?
Well, they're saying that sometimes if people have never had dengue fever before, that vaccine tends to make the symptoms even worse.
Ooh.
And so it's a better fit for people who've already had dengue before, and you can't get it more than once.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Basically, the CDC, it's a reminder that happens every summer. They keep reminding people, clear out standing water, overturned pots or whatever, just containers you have lying around. If there's still water in it, and a mosquito could potentially breed in it. And dengue fever is spread by the bite of certain types of mosquitoes. I'm not going to attempt the Latin name, but there's two or three different types, I think. And the type that's most commonly spreads dengue fever, it's not a species that's indigenous to Taiwan. So health officials are saying if we get rid of the breeding ground for these types of mosquitoes, we can potentially eradicate dengue fever. It could, not come back. And these types of mosquitoes, they tend to live their whole life close to where they're hatched. So if you have standing water outside your window, that mosquito's going to hatch there, and then it's going to be close to your house. So it's a good idea for your own safety to clear out all standing water. He won't leave? He or she. He won't. She, female mosquitoes bite.
She won't pay rent?
She won't pay rent. She'll suck your blood and leave you high and dry.
And she'll make you a rumor for free.
Okay, that's not what we're talking about here.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, and if you don't follow the instructions and officials potentially do find standing water in your home that's actually a breeding ground for these mosquitoes, you could be fined 3,000 to 15,000 NT.
Only in Kaohsiung.
Only in Kaohsiung so far.
Okay.
Clark Hung says, get rid of water from any container. Yeah. Good advice. Lisa Yu, hi. Leo Luo, hi. Yeah, okay. And then moving on to the other
Let's move on to
story.
Okay, yeah, this one I'm very interested in. I'm actually interested in this one.
Right.
Because this is one of my relatives living in southern Taiwan got that last year. It's thankful he's okay now. Yeah, thank goodness he's okay. Dengue is nothing to joke about. Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about this first one, which is the U.S. mission warns tariff exemption unlikely. Now, as you know, they're trying to hit... America is trying to hit China with a lot of import taxes.
The whole world.
Or the whole world,
right,
but China in particular on steel and what else?
Steel, aluminum, and then oddly specifically, solar panels and washing machines. The tariffs that came out first were solar panels and washing machines, and it kind of looks like those hit Asia more, potentially, and then steel and aluminum came out next.
Okay, 所以美国针对从中国进口的东西要增加税，而且增加不少。
Yeah, solar panels definitely. China is I think it's the world's largest exporter of solar panels and related equipment.
Yeah.
And so that one would hit China. The tariffs vary, there's a lot of different levels, the first however many thousand units or 100,000 units, it's 80% or 40%, sorry. And then there's, as you go on, it gets to 20%, 50%. There's different percentages.
Yeah. And
washing machines, mostly, the U.S. imports most washing machines from South Korea. So different areas in Asia.
Okay.
And then a lot of analysts are puzzled by steel and aluminum, since China is not the U.S.'s biggest importer of steel and aluminum.
Who is?
Actually, Canada.
Oh.
And Mexico and Brazil, EU, Australia, these countries, which
They're
in the past,
NAFTA anyway, right?
historically tended to be U.S. allies. Those are the ones that are hit hardest. But the U.S. has had trade talks with some of these countries, and they've agreed to have extend the bans, or to halt the bans for now. It seems like talks are still ongoing.
Mm-hmm. So Taiwan's hoping that they could get exempted from these tariffs.
Yeah. That's the big issue now. So all countries around the world, a lot of countries around the world, want to talk to the U.S. because they want to be exempt from these tariffs. Because, what will happen is, once these tariffs are in place, that means if this country wants to sell something to the U.S., that thing is going to be taxed heavily, making it more expensive on the U.S. market, which makes it less competitive. So, how did I get onto this point? So my point is, I don't know why this is happening. Okay.
Well, the thing is,
a lot of analysts are confused about why it's happening.
Yeah, it's mostly, I think, Trump just sticking it to China because he's concerned that Chinese imports are getting because labor in China is a lot cheaper than in the States.
That is
right?
true, yeah.
So when you factor that into the cost of the goods, Chinese things, when you go buy something at a supermarket in America, if something that's made in China is cheaper than something that's made in America, you are supporting China and not the U.S., and that's the concern. Right,
but I think if that was your main concern, then maybe you would consider tariffs on other things other than steel and aluminum, because that's not what China exports to U.S. But just for your information, Taiwan imports 4% of the steel that the U.S. gets from other countries.
Oh, wow.
Taiwan takes up 4%. And aluminum is less than 1%.
Okay. So Clark says, our business will be affected very badly. Yep. No, yeah. Economics is bad.
Yeah.
From an economic standpoint, sorry.
Right.
These tariffs will negatively affect. I didn't know Taiwan is an exporter of steel. Thai steel, isn't it?
Yeah. And Clark Hung says, Zhong Gang.
Yeah. George Yu. Hello, George Yu. Okay, so here's what's interesting to me, okay? Mm-hmm. All right, let me break it down for you.
Here we go.
Let me break it down for you.
I feel like I should turn the camera around. This isn't the Nancy show anymore. You're hijacking my show.
I want to share my idea with you, and I want you to... Nancy, you are an expert, and I want to get an expert opinion. All right. So think about it this way. They say they don't... a tariff exemption for Taiwan is unlikely, right? Because if U.S. gives Taiwan special treatment and not China, well, they're basically saying, well, Taiwan and China are different,
right?
And the U.S. doesn't want to do that because there's the meeting with Kim Jong-un, and they're afraid it's going to negatively affect that.
So many issues, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, wasn't there a delegation a few days ago from America who's here to make sure that Taiwan is doing okay, or
I think that's the message that they wanted to relay, but that's not necessarily their mandate and their actual agenda. Their mandate is to watch out for U.S. national security interest in terms of the economy, in terms of trade. So, of course, when they're in Taiwan, they're going to say, we want to hear about the situation in Taiwan. We want to make sure that, we're steadfast partners. But that doesn't equal a commitment in terms of numbers, in terms of, memorandums of understanding, in terms of bilateral trade.
So are these the people that President Tsai asked, can you ease tariffs for us? Did she ask the people who visited recently? Or are they the ones to ask to lower the tariffs? Or is somebody communicating in the United States?
That, I think, is the million-dollar question ever since the current administration took power.
Yeah.
Is somebody,
Clark Hung says too many political issues, hard to solve. That's right.
Seriously.
Because today, think about today, what's one of the biggest news headlines of today and yesterday is that a U.S. defense company is opening up in Taiwan, in Taipei.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like AMG, is it?
AEC?
No, I think it's something else.
Okay.
But a defense company. But that's a bigger, to me, that's a bigger threat to China, to Taiwan, than it is to exclude Taiwan from tariffs.
Right.
Because a U.S. company that makes money is setting up in Taiwan.
Right. I think there's too many factors at play to say, this is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back, or this is going to be the issue that leads. It's never like A leads to B. It's going to be A leads to A plus B leads to C, D leads to X, Y, Z. Like, there's too many issues at play here.
What is that, Clark? I think what he's asking me is about the defense contractor. It's just a defense contractor. Clark is asking me about defense contractor.
Ah.
Yeah, and that's basically a company that makes weapons in the States. And they're coming to Taiwan, and they're opening up. That's what I heard.
Yeah. Okay. We'll look into this story a little bit more.
Okay. Let's move on. Let's finish up. Okay. We're actually a little bit of overtime today.
Oh, okay. Holy smokes. What's the last one left? Oh, there's two.
India and Germany.
Right. There's two left. Gosh, that's crazy. Seriously, Julianne. Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm telling you, this is the stuff we got to deal with.
It's actually quite related. Germany, the German Chancellor Angela Merkel, she's visiting China right now. She's going in Beijing, and supposedly meeting with the president of China this afternoon. And so they're talking trade, they're talking world issues like national security and the Iran nuclear deal. And that was really actually quite closely related to like the U.S. and U.S. tariffs. Germany is traditionally a U.S. ally, but
Angela Merkel.
I don't know what's going on. It kind of seems like China definitely wants to present a united front with Germany, and they've issued a joint statement, and they both said their countries are upholding global free trade. Hint, hint. Donald Trump, but. Traditionally, they weren't allies. Traditionally, it was the U.S. and Germany. So,
what's going on? Is this a tip and balance?
Don't know. We'll have to wait and find out.
Okay.
India. Whoop, that's not Loch Ness.
What's going on, India?
There have been protests taking place in Tamil Nadu. This, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Tuticorin? Tuticorin. So basically what's happening in this town is that there's a copper smelter plant there, and then locals are protesting against the plant operating because they say it's polluting their groundwater. But they aren't authorized to protest, and so police were out there in riot gear trying to stop the protests, and the protests pushed back. There was tear gas, rock throwing involved, and 20 people were hurt, and 2 people were actually killed in the violence. So it's major clashes. Okay, and you said this copper smelter is poisoning groundwater. That's what the locals are contesting.
Okay, what's copper? Is that tong? I think it's in
Chinese. The orange, reddish colored one.
Okay. Yeah, that's insane. I mean, protests going on all over the place. Like not just in India, but let's not forget about Israel and Palestine. What's going on there?
Yeah.
Israel, I think, unleashed a bunch of tear gas on journalists.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, journalists.
Right. I think that's also an ongoing thing. It's been going on for how many weeks now?
Yeah, I think it's mostly because the U.S. Embassy opened up Jerusalem, right?
Yeah.
And Israel's getting very, very aggressive.
Right. That's also Dylan Shu says, thanks, Nancy and Leslie. Bring us the deep news analysis like almost every day.
Well,
Sam Wu says, seems like chaos.
We're glad. First of all, and Clark says Huang Tong is copper. Thank you.
My Chinese is
Dylan. Always, Dylan, if you guys enjoy, we'll continue doing it. Nancy's always very good with the news, and she always likes to share with you guys. Yeah, and I'm here to just make trouble.
Yes. And let's bring you the weather update.
Yeah, please. It's sunny, and yesterday was nice and cool.
Yeah, it was nice and cool. We had a nice drop in the weather. It was supposed to be a bout of rain, although I don't think it rained so much in the north. Let us know if it rained in the center, in the south, or in the east. But the temperature is going back up. This weekend, it's supposed to get up to 37, 38 degrees.
Oh, why?
In June. June. I mean, wait, no, it's still May.
May.
It's the end of May. And then next week we're supposed to be getting more thunderstorms, which should bring the temperature down to a more humane level.
Okay. I like this discussion. Thanks, you guys. I'm always listening to morning and afternoon broadcasts. Well, that's all Nancy.
Yeah,
okay,
yes.
guys, thank you so much. We're out of time today, but if you really like what we do here with the live, every Tuesday and Thursday, right,
That's
Nancy?
right, after the 4 o'clock news, or if you have something you want to discuss or you want to ask us, you can leave it in the comments in the Facebook Live section. Yeah.
And then if you want to go watch our reruns, we have it on YouTube.
Yes.
youtube.com/ICRTFM100.
I love how Leslie always says what the address is, and when you can just Google ICRT or ICRT YouTube.
I'm just trying to be helpful, Nancy.
Okay, fine.
如果你想看重播的话，我们会把今天的所有那些新闻上传 YouTube， 所以我们在 YouTube 上都看得到。Alright,
Thanks,
guys.
Julia.
If you have next time, bring your questions. 尽量，如果有问题的话，请提问，然后我们Nancy 会帮你解答。
Oh God.
Alright,
And Leslie will help.
I'll try.
Yeah.
Alright, bye guys.
Bye.